the price wars are continuing to heat up. As we see the labor market continue to shrink and continue to tighten, and employers continue to struggle with finding workers to fill, what is incredible demand for workers at the minute, we're seeing companies kind of go in two different directions when it comes to their tactics around employer brand and how effective they are at being able to attract the talent that they need. Here, USAA is announcing that they're going to be bumping up their minimum wage to $21 an hour as they look to fill, what is 1,500 jobs in San Antonio, but something like 2,800 jobs across the country that they need to fill going into the end of the year. It's important to highlight this story in USAA because here's an example of what I think is a great execution of employer branding, of recruitment marketing. We've talked in prior videos about how great employer brands are driven by feedback from the market. So it's one thing to understand who you are as an employer from an EVP standpoint, but the great employer brands and the great organizations that are able to fill the talent deficit that they have typically will listen to the market and grab insight from there to drive the benefit offerings that they give. And so we've argued a lot that this labor shortage isn't driven by price, and of course money is a main driver of whether somebody joins a company or not, without a doubt. But a lot of the gap in the labor market is driven within a band, I'd say, of price. And companies should race to get to the top of that band if at all possible. You've got organizations like Amazon who are trying to push to the top, right? So they've made $15 minimum wage across the entire spectrum, kind of what their base is. But you're seeing them push up. You're seeing QSR restaurants and things push their pricing up. But here USAA is moving theirs up to 21. And I'm sure that the calculation in moving it up to that level, which is on the high end, I mean, that's going up to about $43K a year just on base salary, is probably driven or by a realization that the industry that it's in is maybe not the sexiest, right? So, there's a real great self-awareness around the company and its brand to know that, okay, it needs to move to the high end of price. But interestingly, USA is also offering a slew of different benefits and incentives that I think are great lessons to draw from as employer brand practitioners. So one of the theories or the hypotheses around the labor shortage right now is driven by childcare. And whether you agree with that or not, that's we need a bigger boat for that. But if it is, right, so and I think here USAA has done is said, okay, well, let's hang our hat on that being one of the main issues. On top of the $21 an hour that they're offering further financial incentives. So there's a holiday bonus, 401k match, pension, and they're saying that drives total comp up to about $54K a year, which is a great salary for depending on who you are. But they're also offering a child care reimbursement program for anybody who earns less than $100,000 a year. And they're also offering family support benefits of up to $20,000. And that goes towards things like adoption expenses or infertility treatment and surrogacy. Really interesting from a benefit standpoint. And if you really do believe that a large portion of what's driving this labor shortage is to do with family dynamics and childcare, well, here's a company that's addressing that by really trying to bolster up their offerings around that, so that you can imagine then if you're an individual who understands what different companies are offering and you're in the market for a new job, maybe that is the difference maker. And how good is that from an employer brand standpoint as a tactic to have listened to the market and then developed benefits and perks and programs that really address what are the kind of short-term needs of the workforce, and so that you can unlock the talent pipeline. So really interesting story. I think USAA, with this tactic, at least in the San Antonio market, it's showing that they've got an awareness for price being a driver. So they've moved price to the higher end of the hourly wage spectrum, I'd say, within that band of workers that they need, but also bolstering that hourly wage with really interesting and really relevant programs and incentives that I think speak to how thoughtful they've been about the employer brand and their tactics with this initiative, at least.